Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. That basically works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. And yes, from the world of NBA, Paul George power Clippers to a critical Game 5 win of 116 to 102 over Suns in the Western Conference Finals. And from the world of Euro 2020, Switzerland stuns world champion France 5-4 on penalties, while Spain finally overcomes Croatia in Euro 2020 thriller as 8 goals were scored in Copenhagen. And yes, from the world of Wimbledon 2021, two-time champion Andy Murray triumphed 24-seeded Basilashvili 6-4, 6-3, 5-7, 6-3, while Djokovic beat British teenager Jack Draper by 4-6, 6-1, 6-2, 6-2. And France, Tifoe eliminated number 3 seed Stefano Tsitsipas 6-4, 6-4, 6-3 at Wimbledon 2021. And yes, from the world of cricket, Sri Lanka versus England. 3 Sri Lankan players have been sent home from their tour of England for breaching the biosecure protocol. And yes, those were the headlines, and what interesting conference final it is. And obviously, this was the Game 5, and the Game 5 currently right now is Clippers managing to win against the Suns 116 to 102 and making sure that they leave their mark. To discuss the in-depth analysis, we have with us Jason Blevin all the way from US. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. So Jason, we'll start off with this game. I think this is one of the most crucial games for LA Clippers. They have been struggling lately. Before this, the lead was 3-1. Now the lead has finally come up to 3-2 against the Phoenix Suns. So how do you see this particular match to begin with?
Well, I think this was Paul George really able to take over for the Clippers. He went 15 for 20 from the field, 8 for 8 from the line, 41 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists. So Paul George really dominated in this game, which is what you need from your best player, especially when they're down Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, important for them. This was do or die. It was a must-win game.
Right. In terms of the struggle that they've been going through so far, I think if they had probably lost this game, they would have lost all hope.
Yeah, this was an elimination game for them. This
Right.
was, the Suns could have put this series away, gone to the NBA Finals with a win.
Right.
So there was really no other option.
And in with regards to this, if we look back into Game 4, I think the difference between obviously is that when the Suns managed to win the last game, which was 80 to 84, this time when Clippers won, they won with a huge lead.
Yeah, that's right. The first half was much closer, obviously, but the second half told the story.
Was more on the dominating side. Not only this, I'd also want to discuss the previous games before this. If we go back into the earlier game than this, which was the Game 3, even in then, there was not really a big difference in terms of the persistent effort by Clippers because they managed to win that game as well. So I think they still are on track. And how do you see them going further with this, maybe looking back into and getting themselves maybe to the finals?
I think it's tough. I think it's tough to beat a team, especially a really tough team in Phoenix 3 times in a row. So I think they've still got a lot of work ahead of them. Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton are fantastic, fit together in a fantastic trio of best players. So
Right.
it's really still going to be very tough. The Phoenix Suns sort of came out of nowhere this year for many fans, but that is when you have a top five point guard of all time, paired with a 7-1 center who is just now starting to hit his stride in the league, and then you put that two with a shooting guard who can score at the volume of Devin Booker. It just becomes a really difficult matchup for any team. So, the Clippers still have a lot of work to do.
Well, we're surely looking forward for that, because the next game obviously is surely going to be one of the deciders, not only for the Clippers, because it probably would be, as mentioned before, the elimination game for them if they lose that. And not only that, I'd quickly jump over to Hawks versus Bucks. I think that's also one of the most interesting games so far, for the fact that the Bucks have, I think, come a long way. Giannis has come a long way in taking the team where it is right now. A lot of people have a lot of hopes from Bucks now, because slowly and gradually they have made their mark. So what's your take on the game 3?
Yeah, so the Bucks are up 2-1, but if I'm the Hawks, I'm feeling fine because they were down 2-1 against Philadelphia in the previous series.
Right.
Philadelphia felt like that they were on the verge of putting the Hawks away. The Hawks were down 18 in Game 4 against Philadelphia, and down 26 in Game 5. Came back to win both of those games. So the Hawks never feel like they're out of it, and they have a point guard in Trae Young who is just has a bit of magical quality to him. Can shoot it from 30 feet out, super quick, gets downhill. So the Bucks are a very talented team. They're a much larger team, and they right now are up 2-1. But you could have said all of those same things about the previous series, and the Hawks managed to come back and win in 7. I expect that still to be a long series. I just do. I think.
To be honest, in terms of Bucks' performance, I think what truly changed my mind, and when I saw the motivation of them in the playing games, when they managed to win against the Brooklyn Nets 2 in a row. So and from that point on, I could see that they are out there to get to the finals and maybe win the title.
It's certainly possible. Certainly possible. They, the Nets were probably the team most people thought would win the championship this year, and they did manage to beat them. So, yeah, it's certainly possible. They, the Giannis is one of the most unstoppable players in the league. And when he's able to get to the line and make his free throws, it creates an impossible problem for many teams.
Right. I'm so looking forward for the next match. So in terms of the whole prospect, when we talk about obviously Giannis, who do you think, because when I further earlier discussed this perspective of obviously Bucks themselves, I think they're one of the strongest teams with regards to how they truly gel each other. Because if you look into other teams, there is one thing that actually happens, that the injuries come in and the injuries affect the team's performance overall, because they're probably looking for a duo or a trio, and if one of them is gone, it's a long-term effect for them.
Yeah, that's true. The Bucks have done a nice job, and they really won a lot of games over the last 3 years, playing everything through Giannis. I think adding Drew Holiday this year has given them a secondary ball handler to play some point guard minutes if Giannis is not on the floor. So, there's a lot to like about them. They're a very big physical team,
right?
That can play downhill and shoot 3-pointers. But they have a very particular style of play. My fear with them has always been that they execute really well with the style of play that they have. But in a 7-game series, does a team figure out how to take away options A and B, and do they have enough of the shot creators to be able to still consistently score, even when teams wall off the paint and Giannis can't get downhill. So, we'll see with them. They've had playoff disappointments, really for the last few years.
Right.
They seem to reach a point where teams settle in and learn how to play against them.
Right.
But I'm not sure we're there yet.
So what's your prediction in terms of what teams do you look forward to seeing in the final, in your opinion?
I think it's going to be the Bucks and the Suns at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Suns will make it, and the Suns I think are just a problematic matchup for every team right now. I think the way that they play, assuming health, they just have multiple different ways to beat teams, and I'm a big believer in the importance of the point guard position and the importance of the center position in basketball.
Right.
And they probably have the two best of those two positions left in the playoffs.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for being a part of the show and discussing the world of NBA with us.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, that was Jason, and obviously he discussed with us the in-depth analysis in terms of how things are flowing, not only for the Clippers. Obviously, Clippers are currently in a very tight situation with regards to the Sun, because if they manage to lose the next game, they're off, and the Suns will surely move on to the finals. And not only that, the Hawks versus Bucks is surely an interesting take right now, because right now, Bucks surely are on the lead, whereas Hawks are not, and it's 2-1. So let's see how things flow by in terms of the world of NBA. We'll surely update you guys because there are a few more games left in terms of these conference finals. But anyways, guys, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and once we get back from the break, we'll discuss the more about the world of sports. See you guys after the break. And welcome back from the break. And yes, before the break, we were discussing the world of NBA and the major turn of events in the world of NBA. But not only there is major turn of events with regards to Euro 2020. Yes, I'm talking about the big match. Switzerland obviously stunned the world, winning against the world champions 5-4 on penalties. And it has been definitely interesting for the fact that since 1938, they came across the knockout stage. And not only that, we want to talk about Spain versus Croatia as well. But to discuss the in-depth analysis, we have with us Rob Harris. Rob, welcome to the show.
Good to join you again.
So Rob, I'm going to start off with this amazing match that took place. Yes, finally Switzerland, they took over France, and I think it would definitely have long-term repercussions for France. So what do you think about the match itself?
Yeah, France not able to add their European titles to their World one in 2018, but it looked like they were going to. They had that decisive period when Switzerland missed the penalty, the chance to go into a 2-0 lead, and instead we saw the comeback from France. The fact is we had the 2 goals from Karim Benzema, and then they went into a 3-1 lead, and it looked like with 5 minutes to go, France are coasting through. And then at the back of our minds, we're thinking, well, we've already had one comeback today in that Spain-Croatia game. Surely we couldn't be witnessing it again in the last 10 minutes of the game. And of course, France absolutely crumble, and the game goes to extra time. And then in penalties, Sommer is the hero. And it's really a tournament where we think about who underperformed for France in terms of someone like Kylian Mbappe. You expect to be setting games alight with goals, whatever other contribution he's making, and he leaves Euro 2020 without a single goal, and something we don't expect the Paris Saint-Germain player. And I think if we're looking ahead to England-Germany tonight as well, and so much of that rivalry is defined by the moments of heartache for England over the years, and it gets me wondering how much will French football reel from that final 5 minutes or so in this game when they capitulated and threw away the chance to reach the quarterfinals of the Euros, because it looked like they were smoothly there, ready to go through. And if we know one thing from France over the years is it doesn't take much for a bit of internal bickering when things don't start to go right. So obviously now they move forward, and the fact is obviously that the World Cup is 18 months away, so it's a really short time frame, assuming they do qualify.
Right, and now I kind of think more like whenever we have 2020 somewhere written, it definitely gives a different story to us. It obviously has to shock the world, and I think only for the fact that it said 2020, I think we're surely going to see some major turn of events in terms of the game. Not only the game, I think most of the sports out there, because if you see that, even in golf, there have been so many updates with regards to surprises. If we talk about Portugal losing, obviously another surprise. So I think that we are surely looking for a surprise, in terms of the Euro 2020 as it progresses.
Yeah, maybe Czech Republic. Of course, they did reach the final here at Wembley in 1996, losing to Germany in that era of the golden goal. And try to find reasons why do shocks happen, why does some turn of events happen, and do we try and ascribe it to the odd season we've had? It's been congested due to the pandemic. Well, there's nothing obviously pointing to that. Maybe it's just some of the glorious beauty of football that can surprise us at times. If you think back to the last World Cup, of course, Germany going out in the group stage, Italy even qualifying, and now Italy obviously through here and the Euros into the quarterfinals. So that's the unpredictability of things that we do like, the ability to pull off a bit of an upset, and obviously Croatia came so close to doing that as well yesterday, and it's really set things alight, because in a tournament like the Euros with the 24-team format where 16 teams go through from the group stage, I suppose it can seem a bit underwhelming. I mean, we just have to look at how England have gone through with the most binary of results, with 1-0, 0-0 and 1-0. That
right.
Perhaps it's not the most entertaining, but of course we've got that excitement, didn't we, in the group with Portugal and with Germany,
right.
And with Hungary and with France. It really helped to set things alight.
Right, and I would surely want to talk about the other match, obviously Spain and Croatia. Obviously a goal-filled game, but obviously in terms of the own goal, as you mentioned, obviously in your tweet, I just went through that as well. It says 9 own goals in Euro 2020.
Yeah, it's incredible. So in the whole history of the European Championships until this year, from 1960 to 2016, there'd only been 9 own goals, and now in this one Euros, we've had 9. Obviously, the latest coming yesterday in the most probably a bizarre circumstances, when we had the goalkeeper, Unai Simon, letting the ball go unfathomably past him. I'm just checking, because just now we've just had the Spain Olympic squad, and Simon is on the list. He's going to also be going to the Olympics as well this summer with Spain. So a busy one for him. And it was what a strange moment as you watch the ball creeping past him into the net.
Right.
And if we look at the game as well, the one player who's been so maligned for Spain, Alvaro Morata, he's even had death threats to his family. There he goes and scores what is a decisive goal for them in the game, to actually help them through in extra time to finally see off Croatia. And Spain will, I suppose, be hoping that, from Morata getting the 4th, actually it's a big moment for him in terms of putting to bed some of the criticism that he has faced, but how close Spain did go to going out of this one. And while Croatia have exited, they really have obviously perhaps recovered from what looked like a sort of pretty insipid performance in the opening game against England, even though they only lost 1-0.
Right. Not only that, I would also want to discuss a bit more on the side when Belgium obviously managed to win against Portugal. And if I remember the game very clearly, the second half and maybe the last 15 minutes, it was pure Portugal game. But I think they had so much of hard luck, and and we saw that match. It was surely heartbreaking and they were really, really frustrated by the end of the game.
Yeah, what a end to the title defence. Perhaps Portugal just not adventurous. Said to me, perhaps they're just playing with the handbrake on too much there.
Right.
And yes, it got them through in 2016 to go and win the Euros. And fallen unstuck this time. One particular stat that's been highlighted in particular is just Cristiano Ronaldo. When he steps up for a free kick, we have this imagined view that he's a master on the ball of free kicks. In fact, he's not, and he's failed repeatedly at every Euro since 2004 when he made his debut in the Championship for Portugal, and he had moments to equalise from free kicks and just didn't take them. So ultimately it was Hazard, not Eden Thorgan, who managed to get the key goal. And Belgium, who tipped as one of the favourites, now have a path to glory without the favourites, France, in there.
Right, and if we look back into the match that I discussed, obviously, I still remember there was this one shot on target from Portugal that actually hit the post, and I think that was the closest that they could get in terms of, putting up their fight against Belgium. And not only that, if I would also want to talk about, if we go back, obviously, Czech Republic managed to get there, they're on board now. Denmark is on board, which is obviously, a lot of people are looking forward to the Danish players as well, and obviously, Italy is also in. So what's your take? We'll start with Denmark to begin with. They have also managed to break through from the round of 16.
Yeah, obviously one of these stories of these Euros, the agonising moment in the first group game when Christian Eriksen collapsed, unsure if they'd even complete the game. They obviously did. They lost it. They lost the second group game, and then they rescued things in the final group stage match, which obviously they were heading out until they managed to pull off that victory. And it was a real moment when they were struggling, and now they have actually emphatically beaten Wales to go through. I mean, Wales perhaps showing some of their frailties in there. They obviously reached the semi-finals in 2016, but not a strong day for Gareth Bale and co. And Denmark really riding the crest of the wave of emotion from the the agonising moment of Eriksen's collapse, right. And obviously endeared themselves to so many people in terms of how they've shown that fighting spirit, having opened with the defeat to Finland, then to Belgium, but then pulling it off and beating Russia. And the fact is now they've scored 8 goals in their last 2 games.
Right. Well, Rob, I'm so looking forward for today's match, which is obviously England versus Germany and Sweden versus Ukraine. Thank you so much for being a part of the show and discussing the in-depth analysis of Euro 2020.
Great to join you.
Great. So that's pretty much the in-depth analysis of the round of 16 that is really up right now. We are surely looking forward for the upcoming match. As discussed, and not to forget, the quarterfinals would be surely Switzerland versus Spain, Belgium versus Italy, Czech Republic versus Denmark. But the 4th quarterfinal will surely be decided after England's match against Germany, which is going to be a really, really tight match for a fact that, a lot of people have hopes from the German machines, but you never know because the rivalry with regards to England and Germany goes a long way. And the other match is Sweden versus Ukraine. Anyways, I'll quickly jump over to the world of Wimbledon. Yes, talking about Wimbledon, we talk about Andy Murray finally getting his first victory at Wimbledon, since 2017. And obviously after his injury, he had to go through a lot of practice. He had to go through a lot of healing, but finally he managed to win the first game. And he managed to win against the 24th seed Baleshavi by 6-4, 6-3, 5-7 and 5-3. And not only that, Murray has fought a long battle, which I obviously talked about and I've been discussing in my show for a long time, but he's been trying to get there and I think he finally is. Good luck to him with regards to the world of Wimbledon. And the other story, obviously, Djokovic managed to beat the British teenager Jack Draper, which is obviously, and when it comes to Djokovic, we all know how perfect he is and he's definitely looking forward for the Grand Slam title this time. So let's see how things evolve for him as well. And not only that, Tsitsipas, however, managed to lose against Tiafoe, which is a surprise for everybody. He managed to lose 6-4, 6-4, 6-3 at Wimbledon 2021. But anyways, I think major turn of events are surely coming with regards to the world of tennis. Anyways, there is more news for you guys with regards to the world of cricket. Yes, the tour of Sri Lanka to England, but 3 players of Sri Lankan players have been actually sent home because of COVID protocol breach. And I think this is surely one of the major things that have been happening in every country that most of the teams they break that biosecure bubble and they have to go and suffer that. But anyways, they were convincing beaten 3-0 in the T20 series anyways. So guys, this was pretty much it from the world of sports. You can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. That works both for Instagram and for Twitter. Till then, take good care of yourselves and bye-bye.